approval of financials from December 21. Any report on that, Christina?
No, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary that the board would have to necessarily zone in on.
Any questions from the board? Any motions?
I can make the motion to approve.
Thanks, Amy.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Director's report. Christina.
We are starting budget work, getting that ready. We'll have a draft budget for the board for the February meeting. We send out that ahead. We can do that once we have kind of something on paper and getting all of those procedures. Our due date into the city for the draft, I don't have the full calendar yet, but it's March. And then our full complete budget is May, is when we have to have it in the council. So that's coming up in our next few meetings. Kyle has insurance, so we were reviewing some insurance policies, the ones that we have. I'm also preparing a newsletter to go to the district. We have quite a few important things coming up for the spring with the benches and the planters that are requested. The outdoor seating, they have to do a permit for that. The food truck ordinance, the short-term one was passed last month. So we have the long-term one that if it's over 5 days, then they would have to have a city permit. If it's under 5 days, if it's just a one-day event, then they can come through the DDA and do the street vendor permit like we've done in the past. So there's a couple, those key things that we can get done, I think, through the newsletter, and then updating the other things that are going on in the district. We can talk about the bridges and things like that in there as well. So hopefully that'll be nice. And then I'm planning one, so I'm planning one at the end of this month, and then hopefully May, or right in that summer period, and then again we'll do a fall one. So 3 communications a year to try and get ready for each of our busy seasons. Merchant meeting is next week, so I don't really have a merchant update. They were all kind of crazy and scrambling in December, but everybody seemed to have a good year with the last time I talked to them. And we're working to update the forms and the requirements on the website. So the next 2 weeks we'll be doing that. And we have an annual report due to council on March 1st, which I'll be working on.
Is there a desire to have a budget work session?
It's up to the board.
Maybe get a draft first?
We could do that and then present it in February, unless you guys want to have more discussion about that. We could do it right after that.
Okay. I think it'd be good. But yeah, maybe have something to work from and see a draft first.
Okay, great. It'll be prepared, and I can actually send it to you before the meeting, so you have a little while, even if that's a separate one, and then also put it in the board packet.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Anything else?
Can I bring up the baskets? Because I saw that Kelly emailed us and asked if there was any room in the budget to change those baskets out in the fall.
The only
And so is this the appropriate agenda item to maybe discuss that?
Sure, we can look at putting something in the budget that we didn't do the mums this year because they didn't have any impact being so high up. We would have to figure out a way to put them on the street, I think. We do have quite a few of the planter boxes. I don't know if those could somehow be utilized, or if we can figure out to pay someone to plant them, because I know we had quite a few of those. That was the only idea I came up with, Kelly. I don't know if you have a different one.
No, that'd be beautiful.
But,
My recollection of the conversation was that the hanging planters look really leggy in the fall. And so to avoid extra work put on public works, because they're probably the ones that do it, aren't they, or no?
they water. They hang
That's
them in
all they
water.
do, is just the watering.
Wheezy's is the one that we contract with to actually plant
Okay,
them
now
and
I
deliver them
understand.
to Public Works.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's why I was asking if we did want to add plants or vines or things, then I would have to let them know now so that they could plant them
Okay.
in the greenhouses and get them ready for
Yeah,
hanging.
we talked about putting in the different colors, like, I can't remember if it's called potato ivy or something like that. It's that lighter green ivy that comes down, just do the different contrasting, and then call it Portleus, and, just for the summer, we're so used to having the, what are those?
Petunias.
Petunias, and it's like, and dude, they get so scraggly, you know, at the end of the summer. And I would go with, you know, the ivies too, so that you can have the color that will come out more and keep growing down in the fall. You know, you can put some petunias in there, but they'll die off, and then you have all the other stuff. We talked, you know, I know Weezy's can put something together. You know, that.
So but the question I think is that, is there budgeted money to be able to make that change out for the fall?
Well, you won't have to change the baskets out. You know, you can change what you plant. It'll be a little more expensive, getting more than just petunias in there.
So you plant it all at the same time?
Yeah. you
Is
plant it all at
that,
the
is
same
that
time.
what you were thinking, Kelly?
Well, my thought was, even if you have vines, it's still gonna look scraggly on top. And why not just change it out for the season and fill the planters with very colorful mulch and pumpkins and, you know, seasonal things. That was just my thought.
We would just have to find, if we did do something like that, Kelly, we would just have to find somebody to do that planting work. That probably wouldn't be included in our service agreement, because the planters that we currently have, each business owner, when they request it, they're responsible to plant the flowers and maintain those through the summer. So we would just have to figure that piece out if that's the direction that we would like to go.
Those aren't well maintained either.
No.
For the planters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, I know people who have some pretty good green thumbs. I wondered about the women's garden club.
The Lakeside Club?
Yeah, if they'd be willing to kind of have if we had the supplies, would they be willing to plant and take care of those planters?
I personally think the planters should be strategically placed along River Street and should be maintained by somebody professional and have it all at the same. Just my thought.
Well, I know that Weezy's needs to be told fairly soon
Yes.
what's happening,
Yes.
so I think that's why it's important that we kind of just.
You get to the end of summer
So-
and the stuff just doesn't look good anymore.
Oh, yeah. Every once in a while I walk by and pull a weed.
Well, Kelly, I think what Janet is saying is that it's petunias and these additional vines, like it's not just,
But once the flowers
One.
get thin on top, there's really, I mean, what you're gonna have is vines hanging down from the planter. The top is still gonna look like it's the end of summer. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes and no. Sometimes it depends on what you plant, you know, because I do that, and it's like if you fill them up enough, it just, you're not gonna have a lot at top, but you're gonna have more build towards the bottom. And these are up so high that you're not really gonna see, you know, down on them, but you can see the colors up on the top. Yeah, it's just getting, but it's gonna cost, because
Christine, are you the one that has been communicating with Lucy's?
Yeah,
Do you want to maybe ask about that?
yeah, absolutely.
make it, you know, and talk to them about keeping the bloom at the top. You know, we want bloom to come down, but what can stay up at the top? And petunias.
We can always try it for a year, and if they have a different, you know, if they have some suggestions for us, and if we don't like it, we don't continue it the following year.
I know.
But I agree, the baskets at the top look a little straggly, and I stretched them as long as I could this year. Once it looked really bad, I was like, okay, time to go. But, I don't know, I kind of like the vine if it could be a thicker type vine, so it wasn't stringy looking. But
And I agree about you know, the planters on the sidewalk and stuff, those need to be
And what
improved up.
we probably could look at this year's budget when we propose this year's budget to add money for the following year would be, we don't have it for this summer, but we could have it for the following summer if we made plans, and then we could figure out who would be planting and things like that.
Are all the planters gonna be repainted this summer, do you know?
I thought they
For
were,
the summer?
let me look.
Yeah,
I thought they were just
Cans,
done
that was supposed to be done.
two
That's what I heard.
summers ago.
Well, they didn't look good this
That was a
summer.
subset of them. It wasn't all of them.
Okay, I will find out from Jeff McCullough. I'll send an email about how many have been done or what the status is.
I personally don't think they should be put on River Street if they're not painted, because they don't look good.
Okay. Economic development?
I just included the report for everybody. I thought that was easier. If you have questions, I can certainly write them down and have Mark get back to you, or you can feel free to email him directly, whichever works best for the board. I know that he's been working recently with Vercanos. I know there's some permitting things that are needing to be done, so that's been a priority project, hoping to be open this summer. So, that's, unless you have other questions.
Thanks, Christina.
Absolutely.
DDA insurance coverage. We're looking at trying to get a local firm. What was the one that we have now? It's out of Maryland?
Morley Nodley, out of Maryland.
Okay.
I believe we went with them, from what I can piece together, because they were a Main Street, because when we were a Main Street, they probably were a partner in that.
Yeah.
And so they are a little bit more challenging to work with because they're not local. They change reps quite a bit. I think I went through 5 reps in
Wow.
my year.
It's been a while since we've reevaluated that.
So, hoping to just look at some local options. You guys are good with that?
Yeah.
Do you have to do a 3-bid system?
According to the policy.
Yeah.
We have plenty downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Event subcommittees. For Sleigh Bell, as it relates to the Downtown Development Authority involvement, I've decided to dissolve the Sleigh Bell Committee. This is and has been an effective freestanding committee for many years, and I believe the cause would be better served if it returns to those roots as a freestanding committee without the DDA's involvement or direct running the event. I think that's the best way to preserve it as a community event, and so it doesn't necessarily belong to an organization. There's a very effective standing committee for it already, and a lot of what the DDA did this past year is outside of the Chamber's agreement anyway. So I would suggest, though, that as a board, for future support, that we consider earmarking some funds to be contributed to 2022 in the form of event sponsorship or donation, because it's important, and I support it. I think the board supports it, but not necessarily as a DDA-owned event.
Agreed.
Any thoughts or questions? Maybe we could look at that with the budget as well.
Absolutely.
Are they independent, like a 501c3 themselves? Might want to consider that.
I think it's been discussed, they have discussed that in years past. Somehow, somewhere along the way, it got grouped in with the DDA, maybe under Main Street or something. It's sort of freestanding anyway. Item 10, West Shore Community College Riverwalk Plaza, request to approve DDA matching funds.
Thank you, Cal. So I passed out this packet, you have a couple of renderings in the agenda about this, the Kendra Thompson renderings of a Riverwalk Plaza, Art Plaza. I believe a sculpture was donated, and then there was a plaza the DDA committed about $250,000, I believe, in their last DDA plan to make this project happen. We had the MEDC here walking around the developer, and they mentioned this EDA competitive tourism grant that's due at the end of January. And there's some talk about leveraging this investment into kind of a bigger project along the Riverwalk. I know there's a lot of work on the Riverwalk this last year, but so if you go through your packet, the third page, you'll see kind of the overlay of a topographic survey, but also that Riverwalk Plaza, the art structure. I put in here also kind of what the eligible activities for the tourism grant were, so stormwater improvements, some improvement of access, and then cultural and arts. So I think the Riverwalk Plaza, the art plaza would be kind of an art area, and I was thinking for cultural, maybe doing some Native American history displays along the Riverwalk, and then we talk about accessibility improvements. This grant requires, they can pay up to 100% EDA grant, but anything over 80% if they fund, you need to have additional justification. So that's why this seems to kind of mesh. And we're looking at a project, we go to kind of that, the budget in here. Let's go over this briefly. So looking at replacing the timber decking with PVC decking, cleaning and painting the rails. So kind of some updating, replacing the lights that can help with accessibility, kind of improving the lighting along the Riverwalk. Some new access at the marina, kind of a step down ADA compliance. Rain gardens to help with runoff that's allowable and will help with the grant application. Some cultural art, some artwork signage, so we talk about that Native American, maybe history displays along the Riverwalk. And then some wayfinding signage and the switchback with erosion control. So there's also included a map of the proposed improvements on the next 4 pages. I think Christina kind of came up to me in December and saying, are we going to do this? And I think Spicer was kind of spread thin, but we had them pulled together. We started working with them weekly to kind of get something put in front of this board. But I think this is a good opportunity to kind of leverage what the DDA already wants to do to get some additional improvements done to the Riverwalk. And then,
Sorry, so this is in addition to the proposed renderings?
correct.
Gotcha, okay.
So we take that $250,000 project, and then we're going to be doing a lot of revamping of the Riverwalk, just to update it. And then the last page, kind of have kind of a walkthrough with an engineer, architect firm, and one thing they recommended was kind of shrink wrapping the utility boxes. So it's kind of a cool idea when we're looking at that, a project at a previous community, and there are probably about 20 of them down here in the Riverwalk. So the theme of them and kind of what art we put on them is to be debated, but I think that's a good option to kind of make it more aesthetically pleasing. And then I think we had some emails exchanged about the DDA match as of the most recent, well, this is from the audit, the most recent financial statement from the auditors. At the end of June 30th, 2021, the fund balance was $377,061. So I was looking for a motion to approve matching funds out of that. This is obviously, I think it's kind of a long shot. There's only 26 million for this out of Region 5 in Chicago. So probably if they're going to be equitable with the states, Michigan's going to get maybe 5 million, and then this project's $1 million. So I think it's worth taking a shot. But, so. Any questions? No, go over that quickly.
I have a question real quick. So how would this be able to be tied into the historical tour guide that that Right Side Design is putting together for the CVB? Because there are doing some Native American wayfinding down at that far end. And so would there be an opportunity that this could all be tied in together?
I think that's perfect, and I'd like to talk to you a little more information about that so I can write that into the narrative that we work with.
Please do, yeah, because you're going to want to talk to Brandon over at Right Side.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect.
And then, Bill, are you suggesting that this come out as a lump sum, or is this something that the DDA portion can be paid in installments over a couple of years?
So first we'd have to get the grant, and I think it's a 2-year performance. I think they'll go longer than that when you read it, but they want to see it, they award it, you have 2 years to implement. So obviously this is all contingent on us getting the grant. Separately, I know we talked about moving this along anyway, so I think that's kind of another conversation we can have, but in terms of this would be committing the funds if we get the grant, and then we can have another conversation too about, we have that streamlined approach of the city was to use Spicer and their landscape architects to get more of the in-depth documents for this. So I think that's a separate conversation, but this would be committing the funds in case we get the grant, and then going through that whole process of bidding it out and getting construction done.
It is in the tip line for 250. We have paid $10,000 off the last fiscal year, so we're at 240
Okay.
on that. So I just wanted to make sure for the budget, how I would present that to the board.
Okay.
If that was an installment, or if I need to just put that, how you guys want to see that when we go talk about it. So that was the reason for my question.
Okay. Do you want to say 240 for at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's in line with,
250 was in what the board had approved previously for that line item in the tip. So we can currently, unless we amend that, that's what we can.
when will they award this?
I think they want to do it pretty quickly. They were asking for all the applications by the end of December. We couldn't beat that, but, so I'm thinking they want to, the reason for that is they want to move forward. It probably, I would anticipate April,
Okay.
hearing about it, but
I think Mark was talking about having it done in the next couple weeks, I believe.
yeah, we have to.
Yeah,
So
so
hoping to have
it's
it.
not submitted here.
Does everybody understand the proposal?
The proposal is just based on if we get the grant, that we supply the match monies.
And so I think kind of what would come out of this would be a commitment letter from the DDA saying they would provide the match if it's $240,000 towards this project.
We need that in form of a motion.
So I'm happy to make that motion that we give the match monies of $240,000 for the EVA, is that what it was?
Correct.
Grant proposal that's being drafted.
You got
Or
that, Kelly?
commit, I should say commit.
Got that, Kelly?
I put a motion to commit $240,000 match money for the EDA grant. Karen made the motion.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Do I hear any support?
Support.
Thank you. Discussion, questions?
I think if there's anything people want to see in the grant application, if you can take a look, let me know. I think things are already, Mark's done a little bit of some narrative work. Spicer's been, we have a meeting this evening, so I think, I know Kelly, you spent a lot of time. Take a look at it, give me some comments, or if anyone else thinks there's some other things we can put in here.
I see that it stretches on that way.
And really, we were looking at the boundaries, we went to Spruce, and it was kind of trying to find that sweet spot of the right amount to ask for to get this at least 80% match, and that was kind of the full extent. And we're kind of thinking of getting kind of that, going across the Peninsula District would be kind of a nice thing for people to pop up there. I know there's some more development going on. So just, that was kind of the thought. And that's what led to the boundaries, really was the financial limitation.
Well, some of that, as we move down to that section down there, I get concerned because we do have structural problems down there. So hate to put too much into it. I mean, really, from what we were told, there's an erosion problem underneath the Riverwalk down there. So, I mean, I see that as being a major redo, having to put some sort of barriers up and then restructuring all that. So I hate to put too much down there if we're gonna have to rip that out.
Are you referring specifically to the ADA accessible ramp?
Yep, and then, just continue to move east from there. All of that's shifted. You can see where it's shifting.
Okay.
So I think that needs improvement. So that's kind of, the idea is we're filling an expensive need, and that's why it's included here.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All right. Does this need to be a roll call?
240,000, I would.
Kelly? Thanks.
Annie Jacobson. Yes. Tamara DePolling.
Yes.
I'm sorry? Bill Gainwell.
Yes.
Kyle Motion.
Yes.
Jody Walter.
Yes.
Kelly Green.
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Streetscape bond, it was my intention to have a subcommittee meeting prior to the holidays, and I got too busy, so I'm working on that for this month. That's all I have. But actually, this discussion about the Riverwalk helps with direction for that committee, so hopefully I'll have something to report next month. We to the end of this already? All right. Public comment. Board members.
I met with, well, I contacted 5 different landscapers while we were down on Riverwalk, and I spoke with Jeff about this, and got his permission. I met with 3 of them, and only 2 of them have given me quotes. Do you want me to forward those to you, or, okay.
If you don't mind, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, they're one's really expensive and one is really inexpensive, but I found that the expensive one was very creative, and they also were interested in taking care of the Riverwalk all summer long, so.
So when you say take care of it, not just a one-time
Maintenance.
thing,
No,
but a maintenance?
also.
Okay. How did you define the scope of work? Was it basically, hey, look at all this and give me a proposal, or what?
Well, the 3 areas that we focused on was the beginning of the Riverwalk, where those 3 tiered gardens were.
Back by the old chamber building?
Yep.
Okay.
The top 2 tiers need to be totally redone. We did do the bottom tier with daylilies. I don't know if that's going to be sufficient or not. And then the next garden was behind the Manistee Inn and Marina. It's just mulch now.
Yep.
We did have some volunteers come in from Edgewater and redid part of that, and they want to redo the other part, which is right next to the bridge.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that they'll still be able to do that with your permission. And then the last garden was at the entrance to the Riverwalk behind the museum down here.
Mhm.
That needs to be prettied up, I believe. And so that was the quote for those 3 gardens. And then when we talked about maintaining, we pretty much just told them what we did and what we would expect from them, and they were game.
You met with 5 contractors?
I talked to 5 contractors, only 3 or 4 came down, and I only got 2 quotes.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that. And was one of them, I know the mayor mentioned someone who does landscaping at Harbor Village? Is it,
I contacted him 4 times.
it never got it?
This last time he said he'd get back with me in December. I didn't call him again. We also, on the park here on River Street, the art park, we have a gazebo that we want to put up with a metal roof. It's wood and metal. And we were looking for, it's $2,000, and we were looking for donations. How do we go about doing that?
Are you looking for donations to purchase it?
Yeah. I mean, we'll put it up and maintain it, but we wanted an area for people to get out of the sun.
And it's gonna be at this new art park here at?
No, the
Oh,
art park
oh,
across
okay.
from,
On River Street, okay.
yeah, from Bluefish, kind of,
And you're wondering how to raise funds?
yeah.
Have you asked anybody for money?
Well, I didn't know if I had to go through the city
Oh.
or, I mean, we are not a 501c3, and I personally do not want to take care of any of that.
No.
I don't want to be accused of, you know,
And how is that, I guess I'm not sure how that art park's, is it through the DDA that's maintained, or how much is the city?
It's a privately owned property that we maintain. Do we lease that?
no.
I don't know.
It's owned by my husband's cousin.
That's right, that's right.
And it was maintained by Manistee Proud all summer.
Okay. So we have permission to be on it. and-
Yeah, nothing can be permanent,
Right, okay.
so, you know, we have to make sure it's erected but not cemented into the ground.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the legalities of that. That's somebody else's personal property. Do they keep an insurance policy on that property? I mean, somebody falls or, I
Yeah,
mean,
you know, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if they have insurance.
I know we've discussed insurance about this before, do you recall?
I don't know that we've discussed it in the parks, but I can certainly ask that question.
Oh,
when
we-
talk to maybe-
I don't think we can put in a policy on anybody's private insurance or private property, but, you know, putting a structure on that property, you know, now, you know, of course, it's a value thing, but it's like, okay, so are there issues with insurance coverage and stuff like that that comes along with putting a structure on that property?
I think there's purchasing it, and then there's, you know, who's, and I think then modifying the budget to take in, donation is one thing. I don't think that'd be a big deal. I think the DDA could do that as well. So, I guess maybe if we could send us what you're looking at doing with send the structure, and then I can kind of float the idea around Cal as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the DDA can certainly handle the finance part of it. If somebody wants to donate to the DDA for that,
Okay, good.
you know, just for the, but let's make sure that we're doing things right.
Yeah. Do you want me to contact her to see if she has insurance on the property?
I think you should check that.
Yeah, it's, and, you know, the plans are to put a structure on there, so how do they feel about that too?
I don't know how it works with public use on private property. Does that
Yes.
automatically get covered under city's insurance? I don't know.
Yeah, I can check on that. And I think everyone trusts your taste, Kelly, but it'd probably be good if everyone saw the gazebo.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Was on board with
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, I like the idea, just want to do it right.
yeah.
I mean, picnic tables have been placed there, other, I guess you can't call them structures, but if it's, like I said, it's not permanent, it's just sitting there.
Right.
Thank you. Any other board comments?
Bill, I bet you also got the phone call, maybe about the snow removal when we had the big snow, couple businesses had to shut down because customers couldn't reach them with the way the snow was on one side of the road. I don't know. Do you
I did
think
have some
that's-
discussions with Jeff about that, and I guess to be fair, there was a lot of snow, but
Oh, there
they
sure was.
switched sides with, when there's a large amount of snow, where they do one side and the other, because I think, you know, the next time you'll have the other side saying, why did the snow on?
Okay, so
Snow
they're
has to go
moving it.
somewhere, so it is alternating,
Okay,
and
that's great.
that makes sense to me, but, and then there's the issue where we don't have, I think we had another complaint about certain areas, the sidewalk not being done. I talked to Mick last night about that as well. So I have to go walk over there, but it looks, we do have an issue where we have one of those snow removal machines that isn't available, but, you know, is that something like, even though it's not available, maybe done at a later date? I understand there's a lot going on that first day when we had that lot with that snow, but that's something I need to talk to Jeff more about.
Okay, great, thank you. I figured you were on it, just wanted to quick check.
It's a rare event.
Yeah, it was just addressed as I went to lunch.
Yeah.
And just asking questions, you know, and I do a lot of walking, and I do the Riverwalk even in the evenings, but I noticed all the lights are off, or most of the lights are off down the Riverwalk, and I'm not sure why, especially at the marina. I don't know if this is the first year I've ever, you know, been walking down there in the winter.
There's
but-
several that are burned out. I counted them a while back.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark down there.
Yeah.
It's at 6
I'll
o'clock.
follow up with, and I know this has been going on for a couple months, and I think they were trying to order the lights, and I'm not sure. I thought Brandon was working on it, and Jeff, but I'll see where that's at.
Thank you. And my
Anyone
dog
else?
thinks you.
The heated sidewalks that we've been talking about for the streetscape,
They used to have, doesn't the bank have heated sidewalks?
do they?
Yeah, the old bank, isn't that one side all, it's now PNC?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was a heated sidewalk.
When Bill and I, a few other folks did a walkthrough with an architect a while back, that was one of their ideas. So it has been not seriously discussed, but I think as we look at a streetscape, it would certainly come up in
Yeah,
conversation.
that's nice and hollow.
Yeah. Mhm. Anyone else? Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll make that one.
Thank you.
Second.
Great. Thanks, everybody.